Welcome to Shockingly Culture, the podcast where we explore culture shock, belonging, challenges, and the growth that comes from moving to a new place. I'm Matthew Grieve,
And I'm Vasuman Ravichandran.
your two hosts for the evening.
This episode, we'll be talking about small towns versus big cities. Two worlds apart in pace, people, and perspective. We'll be discussing the challenges of moving from a small town to a big city like Ottawa. We'll also be talking about how we adapted and the experiences that shaped us along the way.
So, Vasu, you mind telling me, when did you move from Perth to Ottawa?
So I moved at the beginning of 2025 to Ottawa. I was living in Perth for about 4 years.
Did you see any differences in how people treated you from Perth compared to Ottawa?
Yeah, I mean, I saw big differences. Like in Perth, it's almost like everyone you meet, they kind of treat you like they're your next door neighbors. And after living there for about 4 years, just like talking to strangers as if they're like your, almost like a friend you see every day. I was thinking in my head, if I let this vibe carry on when I'm in Ottawa, I'd be in the news. Like people would say, there's a suspicious guy going around Ottawa asking people, how are you? How's your day? How's it going? And what about you, Matthew? When did you move from Sherbrooke to Ottawa?
So I'm from Sherbrooke, which is a student city, roughly 100,000 people, 100,000 students, I guess. But I moved from Sherbrooke to Ottawa, just like you, in January, and I moved to residence of Algonquin College. It's been about 11 months that I've been here.
And so how was the change moving from Sherbrooke to Ottawa? Like, how did you feel? What is the vibe like?
Well, when I first moved here, I remember my first 2 weeks, at least the first 2 weeks, I was completely out of my element. I was not comfortable with my environment. I wasn't enjoying the company of the people I was hanging out with. I faced a lot of xenophobia for being Quebecois because people could hear it in my voice. I had like a little accent. I still have a little accent. And I would tell people that I am from Quebec, and they would give me their opinions of Quebec, saying, oh, that's a terrible place, terrible driver, terrible culture. And I was like, well, that's the culture I grew up with. That's my hometown. And they would always tell me, like, they're joking. They're insulting Quebec. They're not insulting me. But I am Quebecois, so you are insulting me. But I adapted. I met more people that are like-minded, and right now I'm having fun 11 months later.
Wow, that's crazy. Like, I didn't know there was such a big difference between how people treat Quebecois and treat Ontarians.
Those are the challenges that I've faced since moving here. But what about you, Vasu? What are the challenges that you face moving from Perth to Ottawa?
Living for 4 years in Perth, which is a town of 6,000 to 7,000 people, I got so used to, like, whenever I needed help, it's almost like because everybody knew each other, I knew who to get help from. Like, if I needed help around the house, I was literally being helped for free. And I was doing beekeeping in Perth for 4 years. I would just give them a bottle of honey. They helped me with like a leaking sink or any kind of help around the house. I didn't even have to pay them. Like, they would just do it because I knew them. So when I moved to Ottawa, I realized I got so used to not paying for help, for not paying for services. So when I got to Ottawa, I was like, anything that I needed suddenly occurred to me. Actually, this is how things work. This is how things normally work. When you need some help, you call a plumber, you call someone, and then you have to pay them. And it was kind of funny that I got so used to being helped for free. But coming back to the real world, I guess I just accepted the situation that this is how really things work. So talking about beekeeping, in Perth, which I don't expect that activity to be done in Ottawa that much. What kind of stuff do you do in Sherbrooke for fun? Like, what are the kind of activities? Are they different from Ottawa?
Okay, great question, great question. What kind of activities did we do in Sherbrooke? It's a student city, so that means during the summer when school is out, it's very quiet. It's all the students go back home, you know. So our fun activity is going to the mall. That's all we do. We just go to the mall and we hang out. We spend the whole day in the food court, going to the different stores, and we just talk in between each other, me and my friends. That's how we pass the time. There's not like a specific activity we do, except for that. Every weekend we go to the mall. That's our little hangout spot. And since I moved to Ottawa, there's like 3 malls here, and one of them's like 4 stories. So every time my friends come here, we do the same thing. We bring our home activity to Ottawa. And we go to the mall, but this time we spend like all day because that Rideau Mall is 4 stories high. It's insane.
Let me just ask you, like, in terms of doing activities, keeping your mind occupied, how has the transition been from Sherbrooke to Ottawa for your mental health?
So definitely going from Sherbrooke to Ottawa, you lose a lot of things. You're taking a big risk here. So I lost my family. I lost my friends. I didn't like lose them, but they stayed in Sherbrooke while I moved on to Ottawa. So like going to the mall every weekend with my friends, it helps with the mental health because, if you have a rough week, well, at the end of the week, I'll see my friends and I'll get to talk to them about it. And we're just gonna have fun. They'll talk to me about their problems. I'll talk to them about my problems. And that helps with the mental health. But since I moved here to Ottawa, I've been like making new friends slowly but surely. And it's been kind of hard. Like for me, I've had a hard time making new friends. So it definitely impacts the mental health, knowing that like at the end of the week, on the weekend, like no one's gonna text me, be like, "Hey, you want to go to the mall?" or "You want to go to the mall and just talk?" And then, so moving here has definitely affected my mental health. I find little solutions here and there, uh, but it's been a rough process. I don't know if can you say the same from coming Perth to Ottawa?
Yeah, in terms of mental health, I mean, sometimes I have to constantly remind myself that Ottawa, the safety standards of Ottawa, and like the trustworthiness of people, just like how you feel about asking for help or like whether you feel that you're being supported enough. I have to constantly remind myself that the safety, like all these standards of Ottawa, are how normally things work. In my case, I was living in Perth for 4 years, and I'll tell you, there's so many stories I can tell you. Like there was one time when I lost my wallet, and I was freaking out because I had like $150 in it. I was really like freaking out and sad. And then 2 days later, I got a call from the police department in Perth, and someone had found my wallet, brought it to the police department, and with all the money intact. And
Oh,
when I was there, like when I was in Perth, I thought, oh my God, this is I could not have ever expected this. And little by little, I got used to the trustworthiness of people so much that it became a part of my life. And there were other stories I could tell you, like as a beekeeper, in my second year of beekeeping, we had a kind of an infestation of mites that was killing the bee population. Yeah, dealing with that for like 2 or 3 months, and I was thinking, oh, there's not going to be any honey this fall. And there's a cafe in Perth called the Hourglass Cafe, where seniors hang out. And just by chance, just by absolute chance, I was talking to this guy who happened to be a world-renowned expert on mushrooms and fungi. And I was talking to him, and he actually helped me cultivate this mushroom, which releases spores next to the beehive that kills the mites. I got this help for free. I was looking at Google, what are the things I can do for mite infestations? Nothing worked. And if this was in Ottawa, I don't think I would have found this guy, like, just by chance. Like, there are so many little ways in which people help you in a small town. If you have lived in a big city, you don't expect those things to be solved. In terms of my mental health, like, it felt so easy, and I got so used to the easy life in Perth. And then when I moved to Ottawa, I had to suddenly remember that services, products, things that you need, they cost money.
Yeah, I definitely agree that a community can help with your mental health. The trustworthiness, having that safety, knowing that you're safe in your small community, definitely helps with the mental health. But what about like when you moved here, Ottawa, Perth, uh, small town, big city? Did you notice like big changes? Like for me personally, Sherbrooke to Ottawa, we knew where like the rough part of town was. Like, oh, don't go to this part of town at night. But sometimes I talk to people and they're like, don't go anywhere in Ottawa at night. It's dangerous everywhere. There's homeless people everywhere. There's homeless shelters, encampments everywhere. In Sherbrooke, we had one area for that, and we knew that was that area. You don't go there. But here in Ottawa, even I'm scared sometimes at night, where I'm on the Rideau Street. I just finished watching a movie at the Bytown Cinema, and I have to pass an encampment or a bunch of homeless people, like actually like doing drugs. This is the first time in my life where I biked home from Algonquin College to Centerpoint, and I biked by the bus station, and I saw a homeless guy sticking a needle in his veins. And that was the first time in my life I actually saw that, was here in Ottawa. I never saw that in Sherbrooke. And like I was thinking about it for the next couple of hours, the next few days. I thought that was crazy. Like, it's a big change. Anything like that happened to you, Vasu?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, just to see, like, when you walk down Rideau Street, I've walked there many times because my friend lives on Rideau Street, and it's right next to these two homeless shelters, and I feel bad for them, of course, but also a few times I've gotten kind of harassed, and I don't know really how to respond because I've seen people, like you said, shooting up drugs with needles, and there's like needles littered across. And also sometimes when I read the news, like there's like a shooting in Vanier or something like that, kind of shocks me because I know that I'm not going to get shot in Ottawa, but still, just to hear that in the news, it's a bit of a shock. You don't know what to think about it.
Well, Vasu, we could talk about this for hours, but our time is running out. We're in the big city now.
Exactly, Matthew. So if you guys want to know more about our podcast, you can check us out at Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Shockingly Cultured.
And in our next episode, we will have a special guest speaker to talk about his experience.
Yeah.
And remember, folks, stay cultured.
Whatever culture is in your heart.